France elects a new president on Sunday after a tightly contested first round 2 weeks ago. President Nicolas Sarkozy is in a runoff against his socialist challenger, François Alon. The two candidates engaged in a bruising debate last night. Alon has maintained his lead in the polls. Joining me tonight is Corinne Narassiguin. She is a socialist candidate to represent French citizens who live in the United States and Canada. Her opponent in the election, Frédéric Lefebvre. He spoke here last month.
This election is so important for France because it's the crisis in the world, and with President Sarkozy, we are fighting against the crisis since 4 years now, and I don't want my country stop this policy because it would be terrible for France.
I am pleased to have Corinne Narassiguin at this table to talk about how she sees the French election. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
You would respond by saying what about what this election is about and why it's important to France?
Of course, it's important to France because the situation is very difficult, because there is a world crisis with the economy, and especially in Europe with the euro. It's important for Europe as well. I think the countries in Europe, all the countries in Europe, are looking at this election also because it might change, it will change, I think, the direction of economic policy in Europe and the strategy for the European Union in the coming years.
How will it change French policy?
It will change French policy drastically because we have seen over the past few years, actually over the past 10 years, and it's worsened over the past 5 years. We've seen, a little bit like here actually, we've seen a middle class that has shrunk, that has pauperized, it's become much poorer, and we have seen a top 1% that actually has been very protected by the current president still. And we've seen, because of this, I think, we've seen a recession or an economic crisis that has done a lot of damage, especially for the middle class. And that's why we need, I think, fiscal reform, and we need a different strategy for the economy.
France has had a strong tradition of a powerful role by the state.
Yes.
How will Alon change that in any way?
Well, it's true that on the left and on the right, traditionally, French citizens expect a lot more from their government than here.
Right.
And I think this is common to most European countries, I think, but maybe even more so in France. Through 10 years now of a continuous right-wing government, and especially over the past 5 years with Nicolas Sarkozy, we've actually seen less government. We've seen healthcare coverage has become more expensive. We've seen an education system that also has weakened, a public education system that has weakened, and these are fundamental, I think, for recovery on the long term, to make sure that we have social justice, that we invest in education, that everybody has access close to home to quality health care. So this is also important for the recovery. It's not just economic policies. And I think we need a shift in these types of policies as well. And this is what we would bring with the left-wing government, hopefully next week.
Some in Mr. Sarkozy's party will argue that he has a very good relationship with Angela Merkel, and that makes a difference for France because it puts France in partnership with trying to solve Europe's problems.
Well, I'm not so sure that the relationship between Mr. Sarkozy and Angela Merkel was so good at the beginning anyway. In the first few years, it wasn't that easy. It's been better the past couple of years, mostly because Sarkozy has pretty much agreed with everything that Germany wanted over the past couple of years without too much contest.
And Alon will not.
And Alon will not. So there will be a difference in definitely in policy, and because he wants to propose a growth pact for the European Union on top of the budget stability, the budget, the pact on fiscal responsibility that's already the treaty that's already been signed. So there might be differences in policy with Germany, but Mr. François Hollande is very well known in France for being a pragmatic consensus builder. So I think he will find the way to negotiate with Germany.
But he's had no experience in government. He's been a party leader.
That's true, but he was a party leader for a very long time. He was associated with a lot of the decisions made by the French government during the years 97 to 2002, when we had a cohabitation and we actually had a socialist prime minister, Lionel Jospin. And he also has been elected at the French National Assembly for a very long time. It's not like he's new in politics. And as I said, I think it's just his personality is one that he's a very steady person who knows where he wants to go. I think he's shown that in the debate last night. And he's somebody who's, as I said, very pragmatic and looks and listens to everyone before trying to find the smartest compromise, the smartest agreement. And so I'm not worried about this.
Will the Le Pen voters be influential in this election? Yes.
Obviously, Marine Le Pen got a really high
20%.
score. Yeah, almost 18%.
Right.
So, which is very, very high. This is actually the highest score that we've ever had for the National Front in French presidential election. I think it shows a lot of anger with the situation that France is in currently, the economic situation especially. And so I'm not sure, we'll see, I'm not sure to what extent this is really a vote that was in agreement with all of the theses that are put forth by the National Front, especially regarding immigration and Europe. It might be very much a signal that we need to act.
It's a good point. How does Mr. Alon and President Sarkozy differ on immigration?
Well, Mr. Sarkozy has changed a lot over the years, and I think right now he's suddenly, unfortunately, because of Marine Le Pen's really good results in the first round, he's been trying to get the votes from the far right, and he's been saying, making statements that are difficult to accept, I think, especially because they're very different from what he was saying a few years ago. He says he wants to cut immigration by half, which is completely unrealistic in terms of actually the economic situation, and also just respecting international laws in terms of asylum and in terms of families, allowing families to be grouped together, people who already live in France and want to have family members come over. So it's going to be very difficult for him. It's right now he's just pandering, I think, to the far right. Unfortunately, he's been talking about getting out of the Schengen Agreement, which is about the treaty about open borders in Europe. This is a huge step backwards.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We'll all be watching on Sunday to see what happens.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.